In this video, we're going to import some data into Quincy. And by import, I mean we're going to utilize a load file to get data into Quincy. It's pretty straightforward exercise if you're familiar with load files. If you're not familiar with load files, it can be quite daunting. In this video, we're going to go through the process of explaining how to import data into Quincy. And by import, I mean utilize a load file to get data into Quincy. If you're familiar with load files, it's a pretty straightforward process. If you have no familiarity with load files, they can be quite daunting. It took me a really long time to understand them. So let me do a few things first. Let's explain what a load file is, and then we'll go into the tool and actually import one. A load file is just a mechanism to associate metadata, if you will, with a document. The document may have been TIFFed and it may have lost all of its native metadata. But the load file, if you will, preserves that original native metadata and allows you to import it into the tool, so you not only have a TIFF image of the document, but you know its original path, maybe its original creation date, whatever. So let me actually show you a load file, and maybe that'll make it a little bit more clear. I'm going to be using a DII, which is a summation load file. All load files are basically the same in terms of the objective. There are some that are a little bit more complex, some that are a little bit more simple in terms of their construction. But I think you should be able to get the idea from a DII. So I've opened up the DII here. And you can see what looks like gobbledygook. But if you start to recognize that this space represents a demarker between one record and the next, and then if we sort of just basically understand, let me scroll ahead here to one that's got some metadata, what it is that's being said. All right, so this is the object ID, if you will, the document, doc ID. This is the media type. This is the location of the eDoc. So if I go into my file structure where I found this file, I should see a folder, that CD001 new folder, and I should be able to match that up. So it's new folder 0024009. So let's see, 0024009. And we see this is the XL 502 document, and that's what we're talking about here. So that's kind of how you do that, and then it's got a date created and a date saved. And if you scroll through, you may see various different metadata and different types of documents. Up top, there were some TIFFs. These are TIFFs, not e-documents. And these are the various pages, and we could find them again if we followed down this path. We would see all these different TIFFs. So that's what a load file is. Now let's go into the tool and import it. We do that in the process data widget. We come over here to import. You'll generally load into the process data tab. Just click on import to get here. Let's pick a target case. You know what? To make things clean, let's just go ahead and create a case, and we'll call it target import. Create case, and once that creates, we'll go ahead and import into that. And the reason I did that is so we have a clean slate. I don't want the import data to get confused with other data because it will make it less clear what has happened. So let's just give it a second here to create this case. All right, created the case. Now let's go back to our data import. All right, so the case we just created is called target import. We're doing a DII. You can see we support different types, but we're doing the DII here. Let's go ahead and find that file. That is in C evidence. Load files. And then this is the one we wanted. Let me double check that. MSBAT. MSBAT, that's the one we want indeed. So select there. Okay, now it asks you to map these fields, and you need to do that before you can go further. And what mapping fields is translating the information in the load file into the database fields in Quincy. So let's go ahead and click on that. And there it automatically went through the file. Let's just give ourselves some more real estate. It went through the file and it found all the different fields and it mapped them to what it thought they corresponded to. And it was able to find a mapping column for everything other than custodian. And we just created this case, so it's not going to have a custodian column. So let's go ahead and make it a custom column. And we'll go ahead and do custodian. And column type is going to be string. And let's save that. And so now we're fully mapped. And of course, you can change these things. If you look at this and you're like, oh, that's not right, and you want to change it, you can change it. You can save this stuff if you wanted to save this as a template. We'll call it demo temp, and we can save it. In the future, if there was a lot of work here, which there wasn't in our case, but if there was a lot of work, it's nice to be able to load it from the template instead of having to recreate it every time. But we're in a good spot there. We can go click here on import options if there's anything special we want to do. Let's talk about these really quickly. Just some generic options here, whether you want OCR full tech, native, blah, blah, blah. They're all pretty straightforward. If you know specifics about your incoming data, it may be that you know that the page count follows the doc ID in terms of how it was, the doc ID was created, in which case you could click here. Actually, to be clear, I'm not entirely positive what enable fast imports does, but I've never clicked it, and I've done tons of these, so I just as soon suggest you don't click it. But ask on the message board if you're curious. Record handling options. Here the question is two questions. When there is a new record, do you want to add it or do you want to skip it? And when you are overwriting an existing record, do you want to skip, update, or delete existing record and import the DII data or the import data? Now let me quickly explain these. It is very often the case that when you're loading data with a load file, you're loading into an existing case. And many times you don't intend to add new records, meaning you're just trying to update existing records, which case you really want to make sure you skip this, because sometimes just through error or through formatting error or whatever, it can interpret some stuff in the DII as new records and it will try to add them. This one's pretty clear. When you're writing over an existing record, do you want to not do that, which would be skip? Do you want to update the existing record, or do you want to delete and overwrite it? So those are all pretty straightforward, none of which we really, we want to make sure we add new records in our case. And then let's just go ahead and import, and that should be all it takes to get this going. And so we're going to go ahead and import. It says creating import, and it gives us a job ID 8795. And so if we want to check the status of this, we can go to the job status window and pull up our target import case. And there we are, we're importing. So this shouldn't take too long. It's kind of like processing. So let's let it run its course, and then we'll start up when there's something more interesting to talk about. Okay, our import job has completed. It's this one, as I recall, yep. And you can see how many it processed. You can see all the information it gave you about how many it processed, blah, blah, blah. You can look through it. It's all pretty self-explanatory. Let's go into the case now and see what we've got. It was target import. And let's confirm the documents are there and that we can see them. All right, perfect. Our documents are here. And boom, coming up. So great. So we imported the document and we went through the different processing options. We explained a DII. That's pretty much all I was hoping to accomplish this video. Hopefully it was all clear and gets you started. And if you have any questions, please post them on the message board. Thank you very much.